Welcome back to Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Tom White, joined by my co-host Kevin Hanks. Let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment. That's going to be Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be here.
All right, so Tesla down 8% today, but we're talking EVs and a different one. Rivian's got a partnership with Amazon. They just actually announced a partnership with Mercedes-Benz, I believe.
No,
also.
Ford.
Ford?
They're also in business with Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So partnerships across the board, but it seems like they can't get enough, EVs out there at this point. Landon, what kind of data out of LikeFolio do you guys have on this company?
It reminds you a lot of Tesla, right? I mean, it used to be like, wow, this is an amazing product, but are you going to be able to make it? Are you going to be able to deliver it? And so it's kind of like just Tesla a few years ago. And I think that investors are hoping that they get to that point. I mean, Tesla is obviously a much larger company. I think they are about 27 times the market cap of Rivian. And that's the path that every Rivian investor is hoping to see, is to get to be where Tesla is, and then, of course, try to beat them. So when we look at Rivian, you can compare them to their competitors. And they are, when you look at purchase intent and happiness, they are in the top right corner of that scatter plot. So they are where you want to be on this chart. The most increase in purchase intent year over year, and of course, almost the happiest customers. Lucid's it's beating them a little bit, but they're also declining on purchase intent, so you don't want to be them. Now, of course, that you got to consider where they've come from, right? So it's a lot harder for Tesla to double in purchase intent like Rivian has over the last year, or GM and Ford, obviously, because they're just so much larger. They're already producing so many more cars. Rivian is new, so they're growing very quickly, and I think a lot of it has to do with, the fact that there's gas prices are extremely high. The demand for electric vehicles is extremely high. If you look at people talking about gas price concerns, it's quadrupled. It's up 300% year over year. People talking about just wanting an EV in general is up 200% year over year. So that's triple. So there's some really big numbers coming out that are pushing people, some great tailwinds, some macro tailwinds that are pushing people into this type of company. And they're doing very well. I mean, their deliveries are up. They're producing about, I think the last report was about 4,400 cars, and they're delivering that many. Nowhere near Tesla numbers, but again, they're getting there. And you can see the big ramp up here in delivery mentions. They're finally starting to get them out. And what's interesting, when you look at that happiness, you note that they were up the top right on happiness. They're about 80% consumer happiness, down about 3 points. Tesla's at 72. And what happens is, we saw this with Tesla. We're seeing it with Rivian. We're not seeing it yet with Lucid because they're not there yet. But as you get deliveries, happiness starts to drop because the expectations are so high that pre-delivery, everything's perfect, right? The car is perfect. Before you get it, it's got all the bells and whistles, and there's no problems with it. And then when you get it, maybe there's a couple things you don't like, and so the happiness goes down just a little bit. So reality's sort of setting in. But overall, I think, this is an aggressive company to be an investor in. The price is very steep. In fact, I talked about the market cap. Tesla's about 27 times the market cap. But when you look at a delivery standpoint, Tesla's doing about 40 times the deliveries. So Rivian is outpricing Tesla. They're a higher price per delivery, if you want to look at it that way. Of course, that's ramping up, so who knows what that'll be in the future. But I just want to kind of put it out there that even though it's a much smaller company, they are fetching a premium from investors because the growth expectation is so high. We look at this chart here. This is basically since the IPO'd around 130 in November, straight down to 30, and we've stayed there pretty much since April. I mean, we're 30, 31 right now. So the stock is pretty flat. A lot of high expectations out of this company, and investors are just waiting to see, can they deliver, literally and figuratively.
Landon, this is a business full of failure, right? Failures in electric car business are everywhere. Look at the Chevy Volt. It's been out for years, and they still haven't gotten it where it needs to go. Tesla, you can make a case so far, is pretty much the only success story. A little bit of Ford, a little bit of other places, but this company, with rising interest rates, growth being punished over value, the company's unprofitable. They've got $15 billion in cash, but they're going to lose billions of dollars for several years before they get close. But, and here's the big but, they've got Amazon and they've got Ford as their partner. So they've got pretty deep pockets. They're probably not going anywhere. But is this one of those companies? All they make are pickups, right? That's their one trick pony is their pickup truck. Now it's a nice one. I've seen them driving around Normal, Illinois, where their plant is. I've seen them. They're pretty good-looking cars. But is this can you stamp this company safe to stay in business yet?
I wouldn't say safe, no. I mean, this is a moonshot, right? I mean, again, go back to Tesla several years ago. That it's a wild idea because electric vehicles, it used to be the really responsible or pragmatic solution where, you don't have to drive very far. It doesn't go very fast. Maybe it doesn't look really great, but it's good for the environment and maybe it's cheap. And Elon Musk completely changed that narrative. I mean, he put the cool into EVs, and now everybody's trying to catch up because they go fast, they look good, they have all kinds of great features. And that's something that you never thought could be possible with electric vehicles. So I think that he has invented this space, as reinvented this space as something that everyday people could want, and he's grown the demand for it. So Rivian is piggybacking on that, and they're saying, well, you know what? He left out trucks, so let's go for the trucks. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, that Ford F-150 Lightning, I got to say, that looks pretty cool as well. So Rivian's got competition, a lot of competition out there. There's movement towards this space overall. The electric vehicles, they doubled in 2021. The number of produced and sold doubled in 2021, and they're now 9% of the car market. I would expect that to continue to rise every year for many, many years to come. I think gas is likely, not on its way out, but it's going to be cut into significantly by EVs. And so they're in the right place. It's just they've got a lot of competition, and it's very expensive to do what they're doing to create a car company basically from scratch. So they've got a long road ahead of them, and a bet on this company is a long-term sort of a moonshot type bet. But they are fetching a premium already. So I think that's why the stock is sold off so much is, it's easy back in November when stocks are riding high and everything's looking great. But now we've got a lot of uncertainty in the market, and people start to realize that, some of these multiples are really, really high, even if you're not multiplying on profit, obviously, but you're multiplying on maybe deliveries or something like that. The multiples are very, very high. So I would not say this is a safe company, but I do love all the partnerships. I love the direction that they're in. Long term, I think it's worth a small bet, but I wouldn't go heavy in them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to hit on. You mentioned the partnerships. I think that's a big component of Rivian as opposed to other EV makers in this space. And they've actually got a truck that's out there already, Landon. So first to market, as far as the pickup goes, they're coming out with an SUV. Also, the R1S SUV that's going to start getting out there. But I wanted to look at that gas price concerns chart, electric vehicle demand. I just don't see those things going away anytime soon. So even as you mentioned, this is a smaller player in there, but they're actually delivering vehicles already. And with these concerns that aren't probably going to go away anytime soon. I mean, we've got California saying by 2030, no internal combustion engines sold. New York just came out 2035 that they're not going to allow these to sell, right? So they've got a foot up there. But when you look at the size of this and the partnerships, is that a reason that maybe investors look at this one maybe a little bit more than, say, Lucid or another Fisker in this space?
Yeah, I think the partnerships definitely help. And, as far as the gas price concerns, I agree. They're not going anywhere. Energy is just going through the roof across the board. So is electric energy. And one thing that's going to hurt, I think, is anytime you get brownouts or blackouts or things like that in select pockets around the country, all of a sudden you can't drive your car. And that, if you got a buddy who's got one of these electric vehicles and it's tough to get electricity into your house, you start to hear those stories. I think that's going to be a negative trend that's going to hurt this company. So energy overall is definitely, I would say, going to be pushing towards EVs, but now and then it's going to hurt them because generally speaking, gas stations always have gas and you can go fill up. But if you can't charge your car, you're not going anywhere. So it's going to be interesting to see how all the energy plays out. But I would definitely agree that these two concerns are not going anywhere. Unfortunately, for the American public, it's just tough right now with gas prices. So that is pushing people more towards these cars for sure.
Yeah, gas prices going up today for sure, with oil up 4% on the day. If you guys had earnings event coming up, we've got about a month and a half until that happens. Are you guys neutral, positive, or negative on this one?
Sure. So I definitely want to check back in right before the earnings report. Right now, because we've actually got a pullback in purchase intent from its highs, we've actually got a score of about -33. So on a short-term basis, the data doesn't like the recent turn down in purchase intent and happiness. We're at -33, but we'll see. I think they report in early November. Maybe we can check back in and see where the score sits there.
Yeah, perfect. And that rising interest rate environment probably not helping the outlook for sales at this point, as those have more than doubled over the last 9 months. All right, Landon, great stuff as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, that's Landon Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, breaking down the data on Rivian.